A month before my 22nd birthday, I made a list of 23 things I wanted to accomplish before I turned 23. And one of my goals was to see Yayoi Kusama's mirror room exhibitions in person. So I took a flight across the country to San Francisco to see her art at the SFMOMA. Hi, I'm just here to purchase a general admission pass.
Okay, one adult?
One adult, yeah.
Okay.
Yayoi lived a troubled childhood, experienced difficulties as an immigrant artist, and likely lives with OCD and depression. She openly talks about hallucinations experienced as a child and how her art is influenced by those hallucinations. Her first hallucination at age 10 involved polka dots. In the hallucination, the polka dots consumed her, where she was obliterated eventually by the dots. Polka dots now serve as a common motif in Yayoi's career. Her polka dot motif reminds me a lot about the fig tree in Sylvia Plath's Existential. I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of every branch, a fat purple fig. A wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion. And beyond and above these figs were many more figs I couldn't quite make out. I saw myself sitting at the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest. And as I sat there, unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one they plopped to the ground at my feet. Yayoi's art really reminds me of this quote, especially with her work's emphasis on infinity and self-obliteration. She calls herself an environmental artist, where her works aren't encompassed by frame, but often use mirrors, sculpture, and entire walls, so the viewer is completely immersed in her work. When you look at her infinity nets, her process is labor-intensive and repetitious.
そしてニューヨークでもって私は死に物狂いで戦いました。美術のことで、そして一生懸命絵を描き、細かい網目の作品を作って、そしてそれが33フィートの大きさになるの。朝から晩までその網を描いておりました。私がね絵を描いてるとね、そしてその絵がね床を見るとその絵がね発展してって向こうを見るとね幻覚が来て全部ね幻覚になって渦まって、それでね結局私はねエンバイロメンタル超芸術家としてね発展することになってました。
When you step back from the wall, acting as a giant canvas, the strokes of her paintbrushes begin to feel all-consuming and almost intimidating. The canvases have no beginning or middle or end. But when we consider that her infinity nets were popularized during the abstract expressionist art scene in New York City, her works seem kind of minimalist and very controlled. Every stroke manually brushed on very tediously. I think this is what we can latch on to. Her control of chaos is her submitting to it. A lot of times when Yayoi is discussed, we forget to talk about how fun her art is. She uses bubbly shapes, bright colors, and even a bunch of stuffed penises. Her art is proof that mental illness and dread aren't necessarily always an obstacle that we need to overcome, but often a necessity and something beautiful to be celebrated and just a natural part of existence. Her work often relies on the viewer to complete the work. For example, the one that I visited in SFMOMA was called Dreaming of Earth's Sphericity. I would offer my love. And this is a description of the art piece as written in the SFMOMA site. At first, the exterior of this sculpture work blends into the gallery's all-white surroundings, punctuated by an array of large transparent acrylic dots, including a quadrant or quarter dot door at the corner for the visitors to enter. In the interior, bright ambient lights filter through the colored renders to create a luminous pattern of overlapping circles. I would encourage that if you ever visit one of her exhibitions, in particular one of her mirror room, infinity room works, spend a couple of minutes off your phone, don't try to document, and try to let yourself drown in the polka dots or the environment that you're surrounded in. Look at the floor, look at the ceiling, and embrace that feeling of being trapped. Look at yourself and the infinite other versions of yourself that exist in those reflections across from you. Turn to another wall just to see another reflection of yourself and other reflections of other viewers visiting the piece with you. Let yourself feel that paranoia of being swallowed up. If there are so many versions of me, how do I know I'm the right one? But at the same time, look at the walls. Look at the colors. How nicely do the bright colors break against the whites of the wall? Experience the joy that you're not only an observer of the art, but also a part of it. This work will never be the same, since you and the people viewing it will be different the next time you view it. Relish in that. Hold on to that fear and that hope and the flailing nature of it all. Yayoi Kusama has always been one of my favorite artists. Keep the earrings. I discovered her in high school when I was close to trying to choose what my career would be and what major I should choose, and I was answering questions that felt very big at the time. Am I taking the right extracurriculars to go to the right college? What colleges am I going to apply to? What am I going to major in? And these questions about purpose and meaning were really intimidating for me to answer. And as I grew up, I found that the answers were really just more questions. What career should I pursue? Should I freeze my eggs? If I ever get married, am I willing to sacrifice loneliness for my independence? Am I who I'm meant to be? Whenever I find myself asking these bigger questions, I think of when I first crossed paths with Yayoi's art in high school at the library. And I get emotional thinking about how much bigger my questions have gotten, but I find solace in the peace and joy that Yayoi's art has given me and continues to give me as I become new versions of myself.